The story begins with a legend from 3 years ago, when a hero successfully sealed the gates of hell. However, the gates have since reopened, unleashing a horde of demons. Fast forward several months to a small village, where we are introduced to a farmer named Scout, our main character. Scout has a great love for growing turnips, and when he spots a perfectly shaped turnip in his field, his joy is boundless. He even begins putting socks on it. Seeing Scout's strange behavior, his childhood friend Yuna approaches him, yelling, "What are you doing?" Scout replies, "Can't you see? I'm putting socks on my precious turnip." Yuna retorts, "There's no one as foolish as you in this entire village. At your age, the legendary hero was already slaying demons, and here you are doing this?" Hearing that, Scout feels a bit offended, but responds, he was just lucky that the holy sword chose him. But he couldn't even maintain a simple seal, and now demons are attacking the entire world. Yuna replies, "That's why the legendary hero is off on an adventure to slay those demons." Scout thinks to himself, "I don't care at all, as long as the demons don't ruin my fields or hurt Yuna." As he thinks this, he starts staring at Yuna's thighs with lustful eyes, which makes her angry. She kicks him, saying, "If you keep acting like this, you won't be able to save anyone." Scout confidently replies, "Don't worry, I'll save everyone." As he says this, Scout reveals a trap he had made specifically for demons, but Yuna is completely uninterested and walks away. Suddenly, their village is attacked by a demon, causing chaos. In the midst of the commotion, Yuna falls to the ground, and the demon moves toward her. Seeing the demon so close, Yuna becomes terrified. Scout, observing the situation from a distance, begins thinking about what to do. He suddenly gets an idea and rushes to his trap, hoping that cooking some meat would lure the demon into it. However, the meat has no effect on the demon, and Scout's plan fails. Scout then decides he has no choice but to fight the demon. However, before he can prepare himself, the legendary hero arrives and defeats the demon with a single strike. The villagers thank the hero, and Yuna starts flirting with him, as 3 years ago, the hero had saved Yuna, and since then, she had liked him. Seeing Yuna flirting with the legendary hero, Scout becomes extremely jealous and says to Yuna, "I was trying to save you too." But Yuna responds, "Go to hell," breaking Scout's heart. Suddenly, a loud roar is heard, and everyone panics, thinking another demon is approaching. But it turns out that the sound wasn't a demon. It was the growling stomach of the hungry legendary hero. Yuna says, "Let's eat at my place." But when the hero smells the meat Scout had cooked earlier, he walks toward it without hesitation. However, as soon as he reaches the meat, he falls into Scout's trap. Seeing this, everyone is shocked and rushes over to the trap. They realize that the legendary hero has been caught and killed by Scout's simple trap. Everyone is horrified by the turn of events and begins blaming Scout, since he was the one who set the trap. However, Scout defends himself, saying, "It was an accident. I didn't mean for this to happen." Who would believe that a legendary hero could die simply by getting caught in a small trap? Hearing Scout's explanation, the villagers began to think that Scout might be right. So they decided to tell everyone that the legendary hero had died in a battle against a demon. That night, they buried the hero's body in the cemetery. However, a girl saw what they were doing. The next morning, when Scout woke up, he was shocked to find that his body had switched with the legendary hero's. At first, he thought it was just a dream. Then he went to Yuna's house. When Yuna saw the legendary hero alive again, she was shocked. Seeing Yuna's surprise, Scout thought this was his chance to ask for something. He asked Yuna to wear a dress, and Yuna happily agreed. Seeing Yuna in the dress made Scout very happy. On the other hand, Yuna thought Scout was the legendary hero, so she approached him. However, she soon began to smell a foul odor from the hero's body, which made her uncomfortable. So Yuna pushed him away, and one of Scout's eyes popped out. Seeing this, Yuna realized that this was not the hero but a demon. So she grabbed a stick to attack him and asked, "Who are you really?" Scout replied that he was Scout, but Yuna didn't believe him. To convince her, Scout said, "When you were little, you wanted to be a witch and even made a cute dress for it." Hearing this, Yuna felt extremely embarrassed and asked, How did you become the legendary hero? At that moment, they heard the voice of a girl, and they finally discovered that everything happening to Scout was because of this girl, who had gotten trapped in Scout's trap. Scout approached the girl who was laughing and asked, "Who are you really?" The girl replied, "Get me out of this trap first, then I'll tell you everything." After they freed her, the girl introduced herself as Aaron. She explained that she had switched the legendary hero's body with Scout's because the hero wanted his powers to be passed to someone responsible after his death. According to Aaron, at that moment, Scout was the most responsible person, so she gave him the hero's power, making him the new hero. However, Scout refused to become the hero. Aaron then threatened that if Scout didn't want to become the hero, she would destroy Scout's original body, which he had sealed away. Forced into it, Scout agreed. Later, we see them arriving at Ban, the largest city in their region, and as soon as they arrived, they went to a weapon shop. There, Yuna took a liking to a magical staff, but the staff was very expensive, and they didn't have enough money. However, Scott kicked them both out and managed to get the staff for free. Seeing this, they were very surprised, and then they did the same thing at a restaurant, eating for free. In truth, they were taking advantage of their status as the legendary hero. They then decided to register at the Adventurers Guild to earn some money. So, Yuna and Aaron went to the guild to sign up, leaving Scott alone. That's when two girls approached Scott. They were huge fans of the legendary heroes but felt something was off about Scott, so they called a strong man to test Scott in battle. When Scott saw the man, he was immediately scared, but then he remembered he had a sword, so he prepared to fight. The man tried to strike Scott first, but Scott managed to dodge the blow and countered with his sword. However, the sword bent when it hit him. Seeing this, Scott's eyes widened, and at that moment, the man took the chance to punch Scott hard, causing one of his eyes to pop out. Everyone began to suspect that Scott was a fraud. The scene then cuts to Aaron and Yuna, who had successfully gotten a job at the Adventurers Guild, earning 3,000 silver coins for every demon they defeated. Suddenly, a man named Caval approached them. He used to be the right-hand man of the legendary hero. He asked Aaron, "If you're here, does that mean the legendary hero is here too?" Aaron told him that the legendary hero was dead, and she also explained everything about Scott. Caval was very shocked to hear this. Meanwhile, we see that the townspeople had tied Scott to a post in the middle of the city, intending to burn him alive. However, just in time, Caval arrived and freed Scott from the ropes, giving him a secret sword and said, "Imagine this sword becoming bigger." When Scott did so, the sword grew enormous, and all the townspeople finally believed that he was the legendary hero. After returning to the hotel, Scott asked Aaron, "Why is my sword always bent?" Aaron explained that his mana level might be too low, so he couldn't handle the sword properly. Hearing this, Caval said to Aaron, "You can make me a hero." Yuna and Scott agreed, but Aaron refused, saying, "Whoever kills a hero is the one who can become the next hero." Upon hearing this, Caval pointed his sword at Scott and said, "Then I'll kill him, and you can make me a hero." Aaron said nothing, but Scott was terrified and replied, "You can't kill me. I'm a zombie." Caval then said, "There are two ways to kill you. First, I can cut your neck, or second, I can destroy your original body hanging from Aaron's neck." Hearing this, Scott became even more frightened. However, Caval then said, "I'm just kidding. I want to join your team and defeat the Demon Sons." Hearing this, Scott felt a little relieved. Later, we see a nighttime scene where Scott is lying in bed, thinking that now he could see Yuna's thighs every day, when suddenly, Scott felt the urge to touch Yuna's thighs. So, he immediately went to Yuna's room. Upon arriving, he saw that Aaron was also in the room, so he quietly finished what he came for and prepared to leave. However, he saw someone enter the room, and that person was none other than Caval. Scott silently watched from a hidden spot. Caval came to destroy Scott's original body. He tried to do so, but due to Aaron's magic, Caval was thrown far away. At that moment, both Aaron and Yuna woke up, but they didn't see anyone in front of them. However, Aaron sensed that someone had tried to touch her pendant. Yuna said she knew who it was, then she immediately went to Scott's room. The scene cuts off there, and we are taken to the next day. In the next scene, we see their team heading out to kill the demon sons. There we see Scout looking in a condition that suggests something may have happened to him the night before. Kevin asked Scout about what had happened, and Scout replied that he had gone to see Yuna last night. However, Yuna thought Scout had tried to steal Aaron's pendant, so she beat him up. Hearing this, Kevin asked if Scout had seen anything strange, but Scout denied it and said he left immediately. Caval reassured him by saying he'd investigate after the mission was done. Scout knew what had really happened, but he didn't want to deal with Caval since Caval was too strong. So, he went to Aaron to feel safer. They then arrived at their destination, where they saw a demon brutally killing adventurers. The adventurers ran away in fear, and Scout ran along with them. However, the demon caught Scout. With great effort, Scout managed to escape and informed Caval about the demon's magic. Caval then used his magic and defeated the demon with a single blow. After that, Caval took a magic crystal from within the demon and gave it to Yuna. He told Yuna that now she could use magic too, thanks to the crystal. Scout protested, saying he was the one who first informed Caval about the demon. At that moment, they saw many demons approaching from the forest. A terrified Scout urged them all to enter the castle immediately. Inside the castle, they found many skeletons controlled by Aaron to fight the demons. However, the skeletons were too weak. Aaron then used the magic crystal to enhance herself and continued fighting the demons. In the midst of the battle, a lewd demon attacked Yuna with acid, causing her clothes to melt. Yuna quickly entered another room, followed by Scout, who offered her some clothes to wear. Scout showed her a swimsuit, which Yuna then put on. However, the lewd demon returned, and Scout attacked it with his sword, successfully capturing it. This time, Scout could use his sword properly, but the demon caught his sword. Scout called for Yuna's help. Using the magic crystal, Yuna increased her power and struck both Scout and the demon, causing them to crash into the wall. At that moment, Caval suddenly appeared and knocked Yuna unconscious. He began attacking Scout with a spear, but Yuna woke up and hit Caval, sending him crashing into the wall. The demon then humiliated Caval. After being disgraced like that, Caval told Scout that Aaron was actually a demon whose heart was made of stone, not human. However, Scout didn't believe him and fled with Yuna and Aaron. To deceive Caval, Scout used his sword to create a fake wall and hid behind it. Caval couldn't find him and continued searching. Aaron then began to tell the truth, that what Caval said was true, and that they had actually come to Earth 300 years ago. Her treatment was far from good, but Sion was the only person who always treated Aaron kindly and treated her like a human being. She, Aaron, said to Scout, "If you still don't believe me, you can kill me." However, Scout responded, "I won't kill you." They then talked for a while. After that, there's a scene showing Caval capturing Scout sometime later. Scout threw his sword at Caval, and when Caval saw it, he realized that the sword was fake and that the real one was still in Scout's hand. Here, we see that Scout had created a bridge with his sword, but suddenly the bridge slipped, and Caval was defeated at that moment. After gathering many magical stones, they returned to the city and claimed their rewards from the adventure. It was then revealed that it had been 10 days since they left the village, but there was a problem because Scout's mana, energy, was running out, causing the body of the legendary hero he possessed to disappear completely, leaving only a skeleton. At that time, Scout suggested to Aaron that until the hero's body was restored, they should place it inside his own body. Scout said that when the hero's body recovered, they could return the hero to his original form. However, Aaron refused and said, "If I do that, it will have an immediate impact on your body." At that moment, Scout got an idea and asked Aaron to make a mask so he could face the king. Aaron made a fine mask for him, and with that mask, Scout went straight to the king and demanded his payment. The king thought that the person who came was Cheyenne and said, "2 years ago, you refused this, but what happened now? Fine, I'll give you a second option." As he said this, he raised his sword and said, "You must marry my daughter." You know that Scout is quite cowardly, so he immediately agreed. However, as he made his way to the princess's room, he started thinking, "I've already said yes, but what if the princess is as ugly as the king?" But when he arrived at the room, he saw that the princess was far more beautiful than the king. However, As soon as the princess saw him, she immediately slammed the door shut, thinking Scout was a monster. Scout then explained that everything that happened to him was a result of a curse. The princess believed him and even asked him out on a date. Upon hearing this, Scout's eyes lit up because no girl had ever asked him out before, so he immediately agreed. Meanwhile, it was shown that Yuna and Aaron met a doctor who took them to his home. While serving tea, the doctor said that he immediately recognized Aaron as a necrolyte. He explained that he had created a potion that could enhance strength, but the potion was very expensive and they couldn't afford it. The doctor suggested that if they wanted the potion, they would have to participate in a monster battle to win the money and buy it. Upon hearing this, they agreed. The scene then shifts back to Scout, who is sitting in front of a large amount of food. He thought, "Today, I'm going to feast." However, the princess suddenly arrived, bringing a new mask for Scout because his old one was damaged. So, our man was busy putting on his new mask, and that's when he saw the princess devour so much food on the table in no time. But even though she ate so much, she still felt weak and eventually collapsed to the ground. Meanwhile, we see Yuna and Aaron, who had already joined the monster hunt. They saw one of the 4 knights, Sylvia, who was famous for her silver years. She defeated a dangerous monster with just one sword slash, something no one else could do. Seeing her fight like that, Yuna and Aaron realized that as long as Sylvia was there, they wouldn't be able to survive. At the same time, 2 men named Cologne and Niger approached them and offered help. After saying so, they led Yuna and Aaron into a group of monsters. Aaron easily started defeating the monsters with her magic, but then she realized it was a trap set by Cologne and Niger to capture them. Meanwhile, we see the princess looking extremely weak, so she was given a potion to restore her strength, and she started eating again. This time, she ate so much that her body became bigger. Our man wasn't surprised that she had gotten fat, but he was shocked at how large her body had become. He spontaneously complimented her, and although the princess felt pleased, she didn't show much reaction, only saying, "Well, at least I got praised for something." After that, she left with Isaac to take her medicine, leaving Scott alone. Scott took advantage of the situation to escape and look for Yuna and Aaron. Scott eventually found them at the doctor's place we saw at the beginning of the story. There, he also encountered the princess, who had come to get medicine from the doctor. After they left, the doctor went down to his basement, and there we see that he had captured Yuna and Aaron. It was then revealed that the doctor was a necromancer who kidnapped people to turn them into skeletons and controlled them. He did all this under the guise of protecting the immune system. Yuna could have killed him, but because the monster was red, she was unable to do anything. On the other side, we see Scott and the princess enjoying their date, and it's here that we also learn why the princess ate so much. She ate a lot because she suffered from a disease that caused her mana to deplete quickly, and to recover it, she used a potion that helped her replenish her mana. Afterward, she started eating again. In fact, she got the disease from undergoing very intense training since childhood because her dream was to marry a hero. That's why she trained so hard. Then, we're taken to a night scene where the princess brings Scott to see fireworks. She asks him, "Do you remember a few years ago? Something happened." But Scout couldn't remember what happened 3 years ago at all. Because of that, he tried to avoid talking about it. Seeing this, the princess began to grow suspicious of Scout and eventually asked, "Who are you really?" After all, a legendary hero wouldn't have such poor memory as to forget such a small detail. As they were talking, Isaac and Sylvia suddenly appeared and overheard their conversation. As soon as Sylvia arrived, she immediately grabbed Scout by the neck and demanded, "Who are you really?" Scout was caught in a little trap, but Isaac didn't believe his words. However, when Sylvia confirmed the truth of what Scout was saying, they finally realized that Scout's claims were true. Hearing this confession from Scout, the princess was deeply shocked and ran away. Along the way, she encountered the doctor who said, "Don't worry, I'll help you." In the end, the princess followed the doctor. Meanwhile, a soldier approached Sylvia and informed her that their city was being attacked by skeleton forces. Hearing this, Sylvia was shocked. Seeing the chaos as an opportunity, Scout tried to flee, saying that he would soon return to rescue the princess. At the same time, The scene shifted to the doctor trying to manipulate the princess. Just in time, Scout arrived. However, the doctor's skeletons attacked Scout and beheaded him. At this point, we realized that Scout couldn't do much on his own. But then Isaac and Sylvia arrived and easily defeated the skeletons. On the other side, a dog was seen running away with Scout's head, but Sylvia managed to catch it and reattach it to Scout's body. Isaac was furious at Scout because the princess was now in big trouble due to his actions, and worse, the doctor had taken the princess away without a trace. However, suddenly Scout got an idea. He told them that since he now looked like a skeleton, he could infiltrate the skeleton army and find the doctor, as well as track the princess. This plan sounded good to them, but Isaac was worried because the princess got hungry easily, and if she wasn't fed within 2 minutes, she would pass out. Moreover, they didn't have any potion that could restore her. Seeing Isaac so anxious, Scout slyly blamed Isaac for the princess's abduction. Hearing this accusation, Isaac felt deeply saddened and started questioning what he had really done. As Isaac cried, the wall in front of them was suddenly smashed by Yuna, which shocked them all. We then see a flashback to some time earlier, where Yuna was being restrained with chains. Colin approached her, and Yuna asked, "Where is Aaron? What are your plans?" Colin replied, "I don't care what that doctor's plan is. I just enjoy watching people like you suffer." Hearing this, Yuna became extremely angry and broke her chains, then punched Colin hard. Afterward, Yuna tied Colin to a chair and forced him to reveal Aaron's location. Yuna then set off with a camel toward Aaron's location. They found Aaron trapped in a sea of tears. Seeing this, they decided to play rock, paper, scissors to decide who would rescue Aaron first, as no one wanted to save her in that condition. Meanwhile, we see the doctor performing a ritual with the princess to cure her illness. However, in reality, he was conducting a ritual that would turn everyone into skeletons so that discrimination in this world would disappear. After all, if there are no humans, there can be no discrimination. However, the princess was not at all happy with this plan. Meanwhile, our scout team had arrived. The scouts, including Yuna, waited for the right moment to attack Aaron. As soon as the princess rejected the doctor's ritual, the scouts immediately swung in and struck the doctor, but his body was skeletal, so the blow had little effect. In fact, the scout's hand broke. But don't worry, Yuna powered up and hit the doctor hard, sending him flying into a pillar in front of him. Then, the doctor tried to attack them using his skeletons, but Aaron managed to control all the skeletons, trapping the doctor from all sides. At that moment, the scout discovered the doctor's mask, which had a crystal. When the mask was worn, all the skeletons began to obey the scout. However, being a scout, he used the mask for his own purposes. Many of the doctor's demons then appeared and surrounded them. Taking this opportunity, the doctor attempted to flee, but Yuna caught him. The doctor then used a second crystal, which made him even stronger. He regained control of his skeletons and attacked the princess, but Isaac appeared and was severely injured. At the same time, the scout created a barrier with his sword and led everyone to escape. The doctor followed them by tracking Isaac's blood on the ground, but the blood was fake, created by the scout using rainbow berries to deceive the doctor. Here, the scout team began to discuss their next move. The princess said they needed to get stronger if they were going to fight the doctor. Isaac then suggested that the princess share her fluids with them to increase their mana levels. However, to do this, they would need the princess's tears and sweat. Isaac explained that the princess had undergone such intense training that she could no longer cry or sweat. But the scout knew how to make the princess sweat, so he prepared to do it, but then stopped and asked if the doctor was also using fluids to increase his mana level. Aaron then explained that if the doctor was a true necromancer, he might be controlling the skeletons using necromancy. The scout came up with the idea to disguise himself as a fake skeleton and try to steal the doctor's second crystal. However, this plan failed completely because the doctor immediately recognized him as an imposter. At that moment, Yuna and Aaron powered up and destroyed all the skeletons, causing massive destruction. But the doctor was very cunning. He used his second crystal to increase his strength and began beating them mercilessly. It turned out that the plan was different here. We see the princess standing on a high mountain, and from there, She targeted the doctor's crystal, shooting it precisely so that the crystal was knocked out of the doctor's hand, ending his game. As they celebrated their victory, suddenly a red monster, which had previously defeated Sylvia badly, appeared from behind. As soon as it arrived, the monster attacked the princess with its laser beam. However, to save the princess, one of them stood in the way and sacrificed themselves. Seeing this, Yuna became furious and began fighting the monster using her 2 magical crystals. However, the monster was too strong and managed to defeat Yuna. After defeating Yuna, the monster immediately approached Aaron and quickly recognized that this was necrology. Meanwhile, the princess tried to wake up Scout, saying they needed his help, but Scout's face remained expressionless. She felt that Scout was beyond saving, causing the princess to become emotional and start crying. The princess' tears, which turned out to be far more powerful than the flute, entered Scout's mouth and brought him back to life. Scout recovered and returned to his original form. With his enhanced strength, he transformed his sword into a giant radish and attacked the monster, finally defeating it. Here, we learn that the monster was being controlled by a necrology named Diego. Suddenly, the scene shifts, and we see that the doctor has made a grave mistake, leading to his imprisonment. After completing their mission, the group prepared to continue their journey. Before they left, the princess gave Scout syrup to help him keep his body healthy. One of them praised the princess for her skills and asked if she would join them on their journey. However, the princess declined as she had duties to her country. The king then gave them a large carriage for their travels. Before departing, Isaac handed them a letter from the princess. As Scout sat inside the carriage, he opened the letter, which instructed him to open a box in the back. Scout went and opened the box, revealing the princess inside. It turned out that the princess also wanted to join them, so she conspired with Isaac to hide herself in the box. Their group now consisted of 4 people. A short time later, we see a scene where they stop to rest. Here, we learn from Yuna that Scout's mana was depleting rapidly since most of it had been used to heal his body. He did some minor tasks with the remaining energy, but now, he could no longer even do that. It was at that moment that Aaron discovered a pigeon sent by Sylvia. However, some starving people wanted to capture and eat it. The princess noticed a letter tied to the pigeon's leg, stopping them from doing so. Afterward, they read the letter, which stated that Sylvia had recovered and sent them a new mission. Sylvia wanted them to head northeast so she could further study necrology. The letter also mentioned that they would not be able to do anything except protect everyone, as her primary mission was to close the gates of hell and protect everyone. After that, we see a scene in the next city, where Scout's team was invited to a banquet by the princess because she highly respected them. There, the princess asked Scout, "Will you marry me? I want to be with you." Seeing this, Aline became extremely jealous and said to Scout, "No, he will marry me. I want to live a simple life with him." The 2 women began to argue over Scout, though we may never truly understand why. Even while bathing, they continued talking about Scout. The princess insisted, "No matter what, I will marry Scout." She even asked Yuna, "Do you like Scout too?" But Yuna firmly said no, although she was secretly confused about whether she actually had feelings for Scout. At that moment, Scout entered the changing room and asked Yuna, "Do you have feelings for me?" Yuna, however, cursed at him and started talking about Cheyenne. Scout then said, "He's dead. Don't keep bringing him up." But Yuna persisted, "I will remember him. He saved my life, and I will never forget him." After saying that, Yuna ran outside without any clothes on, but fate had other plans for her. While running, a group of zombies attacked her, and one of them bit her, causing her to start becoming infected. Scout quickly arrived and saw that Yuna was in dire condition, surrounded by many zombies. Scout decided to help her and fought off the zombies. But Yuna said, "We can't fight them." Scout created a large barrier in front of them, but suddenly, the zombies began to overwhelm Yuna, and she struck Scout hard, sending him flying. The zombies then swarmed Scout, and it seemed like Scout, too, would turn into a zombie. But at that moment, a man named Ballark arrived and destroyed all the zombies, saving both Scout and Yuna. In the city, the zombie outbreak had spread everywhere. Some zombies even attacked Aaron and the princess, but the princess used the sword given to her by Aaron to defeat all the zombies. After that, they got dressed and prepared to search for Yuna and Scout, but at that moment, they arrived. Scout said nothing about Yuna's condition. Then, Bilal took them to a castle protected by massive walls. The castle belonged to the mayor and housed other villagers. When they saw Scout, they were overjoyed, believing that the legendary hero had come to protect them. There, we also saw Cologne and Negan, who had just escaped from prison. Their luck was incredibly good, as Scout did not recognize them. However, Cologne noticed that Yuna had been infected by a zombie and took the opportunity to tell the villagers that Yuna was infected and could turn into a zombie at any moment. Therefore, they had to kill Yuna. As soon as they heard the word necessary, our people became very angry, grabbed Cologne, hit him, and then drew his sword, saying to everyone, "If anyone dares, try to touch this prisoner." Suddenly, Yuna woke up and started attacking Scout. She had fully transformed into a zombie, but Aaron, just in time, mentioned that Yuna would not attack her necrology. They then brought Yuna into the castle, where Anon told them how she was controlling Yuna. Afterward, she gave them a red crystal to help them examine Yuna. Both of them touched the crystal at the same time and saw something like a parasite clinging to Yuna's brain. Aaron explained that this was ancient magic called necrology and said, "We shouldn't go out at night. We must wait until morning." That's when they realized Anon wouldn't be able to control Yuna for much longer because once she fell asleep, her magic would wear off and Yuna would return to being a zombie. Anon then decided to use the dual spread spell on Yuna, which allowed her to enter Yuna's body and control it. However, she had never used this spell before, so she was very scared. Scout then said, "Don't worry, use the spell on me because no one knows Yuna better than I do." Aaron did as instructed and placed Scout's spirit into Yuna's body. After that, they took Yuna for a bath, but they covered her eyes so Scout couldn't see, as you know how flirtatious Scout is. Afterward, when Scout was about to sleep, the three girls approached him and said, "We'll sleep with you," because they were worried that Scout might do something inappropriate with Yuna's body. You know Scout can't resist doing strange things. In the middle of the night, Scout woke up and started doing strange things with Yuna's body. The princess saw this and tied Scout up so he couldn't do anything. At the same time, we saw monsters approaching the castle walls and breaking them with a single strike, allowing many zombies to enter the castle. Their castle was now under attack, and our team woke up, ready to fight the zombies. Meanwhile, Cologne and Neeg also started fighting zombies to save themselves, but they didn't even think of saving anyone else. Elsewhere, a monster captured the mayor, but the princess arrived just in time and attacked the monster with her bow, saving the mayor. The mayor then took them to the top of the castle, where Billa was observing everything. The mayor led them to the armory, where there were many weapons. He showed them how to use the cannons to fight the monsters. The mayor knelt before them and begged, "Please, save my city." They replied, "Don't worry, we will save it." But the monsters we're facing now are much stronger than the red monsters we fought before. Then Aaron gave 2 magic stones to our heroes, which she used to reveal that there were 3 monsters in the castle, and one of them was approaching them. As soon as she said this, the monster emerged from the ground in front of them, and our team started fighting it. The princess launched many attacks against it, but none of her strikes had any effect on the monster. Billa stepped forward to fight the monster, but the monster struck her with a single blow. As she fell from the castle, our members were forced to take up her sword, enlarge it, and cut the monster in half. At that moment, we saw the leader of the monsters approaching with more monsters, but they were defeated by Cologne and Niger using their wits. Then they tried to flee to save themselves, but suddenly a zombie bit Cologne's hand from behind. They saw many zombies heading toward them, but Scout arrived just in time to save them and shut the armory door. Now, Cologne was about to become a zombie too, so he told everyone that they needed to attack the female monster immediately. Aaron started attacking her with her magic crystal. However, Cologne suddenly went off on his own to attack the monster. He tried to strike it, but was instead attacked and seriously injured. We then saw that the one who attacked him was actually Diego, an ally of the female monster. Diego was extremely powerful because he had more than one magic stone, which allowed him to easily overpower our team. but he chose to toy with them and ordered his zombie army to attack. Scout then used his sword to trap them in a large room, and Diego said, "It seems like I'll have to finish you off myself." With that, he summoned a large axe into his hand. Scout tried to manipulate Diego and said, "You underestimate my power, but you forget that you're standing before someone who once defeated the legendary hero." Hearing this, Diego was shocked for 2 minutes, thinking about how Scout could have beaten the legendary hero. While Diego was lost in thought, Mayer suddenly arrived in a buggy and ran into Diego, who was thrown against the wall. It turned out Mayer didn't come alone. He brought a team of heroes, including Uno's sister, Uno's father, and 2 girls we didn't know. They were talking when Diego suddenly got back up, ready to attack. This time, Diego fought against Uno's father and sister, who unleashed their strongest attacks, severely wounding him. Meanwhile, the team's mage was defeating the female monster. As things got tougher for Diego's team, he summoned a monster and fled to save himself. While zombies attacked, Aaron managed to take control of them and saved everyone. Afterward, we saw a scene the next day where Scout's team talked to Mayer, telling him that they were going to capture Diego because they needed to restore Uno. They learned that Diego lived near their village, so they set off to catch him. Along the way, we were introduced to Uno's sister, named Mealy, and his father, named Fury. The 2 other girls weren't important, so we just ignored them. Here, our team had to speak to them as Uno because they didn't know that their bodies had been switched. However, Mealy began to grow suspicious of Uno because his behavior seemed more like Scout, who was actually in Uno's body. Mealy asked Uno, "Are you trying to steal Scout from me?" Hearing this, our team was shocked. We then learned that in their childhood, Mealy and Scout had made a promise to get married when they grew up. At that moment, they suddenly encountered a large boulder placed by Diego to prevent them from escaping. Diego was a very dangerous necromancer, capable of controlling many demons at once. He summoned a giant spider to attack them. They tried to dodge by turning their cart and taking another path, but the spider attacked their cart, causing it to fall off a cliff. Fortunately, no one was hurt because, just in time, Scout used his sword to create a cushion and save everyone. Here, Yuna was very surprised to see Scout using a legendary sword, and she asked him, "How did you get this legendary sword? Are you a hero now?" Hearing this, Scout became nervous and thought, "What should I say now?" Eventually, he told Yuna that he was just borrowing Sias' legendary sword for a while. The others believed him, and then they got out of the cart to inspect their surroundings without realizing it could be a trap. And sure enough, Yuna got caught in a trap, but it was small enough that she easily escaped. Suddenly, a thick fog appeared in front of them, obscuring their view. This fog was actually created by the leader of the Demon Sons to take advantage and attack Scout, aiming to kill all his friends in one strike. Seeing this, Scout used his sword to protect himself and hid. At that moment, the leader of the Demon Sons arrived and demanded the legendary sword from Scout. Without saying a word, Scout handed over the sword. However, Scout suddenly gave a sly smile, and we saw that all his friends, who had previously appeared dead, suddenly rose again. It turned out that when the monsters attacked, Erin had used her magical powers to control the Demon Sons from the start. They had only pretended to be dead to trap the Demon Sons leader, and their plan worked. The leader then asked how they had sensed the presence of the Demon Sons. Scout pulled out a magic crystal and explained that they had used the crystal to detect their presence. While showing the crystal, Scout also eyed the leader's body, which the princess immediately noticed. Since she had been with Scout for a long time, she knew his somewhat mischievous behavior, so she warned him, "Stop acting like that, or I'll kick you straight to your house." After that, Scout met with the leader of the Demon Sons and instantly recognized him. Scout then knelt before the leader, which left everyone in shock. It turns out that the leader of the Demon Sons is Scout's teacher. We then see a flashback of when Scout was trapped in a war, wandering aimlessly. During that time, he saw an impressive trap and thought that he needed to learn how to make traps like that. That's when the leader of the Demon Sons appeared and saved him from the war. Afterward, the leader took him home, gave him food, and taught him everything, including how to make traps, which Scout used for his big operations. We also find out that the leader's real name is Ethel, so from now on, we will call him Ethel. Here, Ethel reveals that he's working with Diego because he wants revenge on humanity. Ethel tells them all of this and then tries to leave with a secret sword. However, Scout tells Ethel that if he activates the sword, he will be electrocuted by 440 volts because Scout had installed an electric pin inside it. Upon hearing this, Ethel immediately throws the sword away and accepts his defeat in front of everyone. We then see Ethel saying that their train is completely destroyed, but he knows a mechanic who can fix it. Scout is thrilled to learn that Ethel is now part of their team. We then see Ethel riding his giant spider, taking them all to the mechanic. After some time traveling, they finally arrive at their destination. There, they try to talk to an old mechanic, but the man firmly refuses to speak, saying no work is done there. Upon hearing this, Ethel almost leaves, but our friend shouts, begging him to work. They cause a little chaos and try to open the back door to get inside the house. We find out that the mechanic is an old man with poor eyesight, but a surprisingly strong grip. Here, we learn that this old man is the grandfather of the legendary hero Cheyenne, who can sense Scout's presence in Yuna's body. Our friend gets straight to the point and tells the mechanic about the condition of their buggy, which is said to take at least 2 days to fix. However, our friend pleads for it to be repaired faster since they need to start their mission soon. Meanwhile, a princess who's been sitting nearby suddenly reads through the entire mechanic's manual in just minutes, which impresses the old mechanic greatly. He then asks her to read all the books there to help him fix the buggy faster with her assistance. The princess starts working, and Aaron also begins reading, looking for new ways to help Yuna. Meanwhile, Scout asks Miley about her sword, as it bears a striking resemblance to the secret sword. Scout asks if the sword can close the Hell Gate, but Miley's father, Fury, firmly says no. He explains that the sword is an artificial one, made in a lab, and therefore doesn't have such power. Hearing this, Ethel interrupts and says that facing him with such a sword is impossible because he is so strong that he can control hundreds of demons with a single spell. Hearing this, our friend initially looks a bit worried, but then smiles widely and confidently says that they will definitely defeat him. "I am the legendary hero," he says proudly and walks out. You might think he would sit somewhere feeling nervous, but no, he goes to a corner and starts putting socks on Yuna's body. The world may be in danger, but his passion won't be extinguished. As Scout is enjoying his time, the 3 girls appear, and Aaron tells Scout that he has a way to separate Yuna's soul from her body. However, first, he must move Scout's soul from Yuna's body into the hero's body. Aaron does this, moving Scout's soul from Yuna's body into the hero's body, then performs a spell to extract Yuna's soul from her body, and everyone can see Yuna's soul. Interestingly, the old man can see it too. The scene then shifts to the kingdom, where Sylvia has received a letter from Scout, and she is very angry after reading it because Scout has declined her request. Meanwhile, we return to our team, where the princess informs them that their buggy has been repaired, and they can continue their mission. Before leaving, Scout ties Yuna's body with chains to ensure she doesn't attack anyone. On the other side, Diego and a professor are attacked by some very strong magical knights who manage to cut Diego's neck several times. However, Diego can heal himself with his regenerative power. One character heals himself and kills one of the knights using blood manipulation. Meanwhile, Prefers is surrounded by many knights attacking him, but he uses teleportation magic to reflect the attack back at them, severely injuring one of the knights. In that moment, a character named him reveals that he cannot be killed because he has sealed his real body inside a coffin and even shows it to everyone. At that moment, one of the knights cuts off one of his hands. However, the main character managed to regenerate his heart and threw the knight from a great height. Then, he unlocked his original form, and everyone who saw him was terrified. At that moment, the king used a spell to witness the battle from afar, and he was deeply worried upon seeing the monster. The king then ordered Sylvia to immediately lead the entire army to Diego's castle to destroy him. At the same time, the mayor came and pleaded with the king to save their village. He informed the king about the village's situation and said that a scout team had been sent to defeat Diego. The mayor knelt before the king on his horse, begging for his village to be saved. The king, moved by this request, agreed. However, Sylvia warned the king that their small army was not enough to fight the enemy, as they were extremely dangerous. She said they needed Caval's help, who was very powerful. The king agreed to the suggestion. Sylvia and Caval then set off on their journey toward Diego's castle with a large fleet. Meanwhile, the scout team was also heading to Diego's castle, but before they could leave, Ethel tried to stop the team leader, Scout, from going. However, Scout insisted on going and said that if Ethel didn't want to come, she could stay behind. Scout then boarded the carriage and left. After thinking it over, Ethel changed her mind and ran to catch the carriage, eventually sitting inside. Scout remarked that he knew Ethel would come, then pulled Ethel closer with his sword. Ethel joined their team, making the group even larger. On the way, Scout asked Miley why she wanted to be a hero. Miley replied that she wanted to bring back peace and play with Scout like they did in their childhood. Shortly after, Ethel informed them that they had entered Diego's territory, and they were immediately attacked. Sylvia mentioned that they needed seeds for protection, so Scout used his sword to create a large shield in front of their carriage, allowing them to easily enter the territory. Once they arrived, Ethel revealed her true form and struck Scout's head, knocking him out in front of the monsters. She then took Scout's body into the castle. However, it turned out that Ethel hadn't betrayed them. All of this was part of Aaron's plan, where he returned Scout's soul to his body. They entered the castle through an underground passage. Scout's body had been sealed in a coffin for several days, so he struggled to move. Nevertheless, he managed to control himself and continued their journey toward their goal. Along the way, they encountered several small monsters that Scout easily defeated. Then, with Aaron's help, Scout transferred both his and Aaron's souls into the monsters' bodies, so none of the demons would suspect them. Their plan succeeded. None of the demons recognized them. After that, they went to meet Lady Demon, and Scout began sharing his strange thoughts, which piqued Lady Demon's interest. When someone approached, our protagonist said, "If you want to understand my mind better, just touch the lamp on my head, and you'll fully know my imagination." When the woman touched the lamp, our protagonist took advantage of the moment and struck her down instantly. Meanwhile, Aaron returned to her original form, and Scout nearly killed Lady Dim. However, Villain appeared just in time and saved Lady Dim. At the same time, Scout's dimensional body started to get pulled into a dark portal by Villain, but Aaron managed to return Scout's soul to his original body. Here, we learn that Villain is actually Aaron's sibling. Villain was shocked to see Aaron among the heroes and asked why she joined them. Aaron explained that she wanted peace and to defeat Diego. Villain invited her to join his team, but Aaron firmly refused and said she would remain with Scout's team. When Aaron mentioned Scout's kindness, Diego suddenly appeared with his monsters, smashing through the walls and immediately devouring Lady Dim's body. Everyone present was shocked, and Scout realized that Diego had grown stronger. He tried to escape, but Diego easily caught him and said, "You won't be able to run from me." Scout replied, "How can I fight you? My weapon was taken by your friend." At Diego's command, Villain returned Scout's weapon. They then stood on top of Diego's mansion, and the battle began. Scout attacked Diego with his sword, but Diego easily dodged and kicked Scout hard, sending him flying. Diego approached to strike again, saying, "Is this the limit of your strength?" Scout responded, "You haven't seen my true power yet," and suddenly the ground beneath Diego collapsed, causing him to fall along with his monsters. Below, the entire Eiffel team attacked Diego with ice strikes to weaken him, buying Scout time to recover. One of Diego's men wouldn't let Scout recover so easily and attempted to attack him. However, the clone of the legendary hero kicked the henchman far away. With Aaron's help, Scout transferred his soul back into the body of the legendary hero and drank the serum given to him by the princess, which made him stronger. Scout returned to the fight and launched numerous attacks on Diego, but Diego managed to withstand all of them and recover. Even though Scout's entire team attacked him, Diego created a black hole circle around him, reflecting all incoming attacks. Scout was confused and didn't know what to do, so he struck a pillar near Diego to distract him. The pillar collapsed toward Diego, and Scout took the opportunity to escape toward Aaron. He asked, "You're a necromancer. Surely you know this creature's weakness." After thinking hard, Aaron remembered that a legendary necromancer had a core in his head that, if destroyed, would kill him. Aaron informed Scout of this weakness. Upon learning this, Scout felt confident and charged toward Diego to strike, but suddenly he collapsed halfway. We then learned that the side effects of the serum he drank were starting to affect his body. This is why his nose and mouth started bleeding. At this point, our hero was very weak, but he still managed to make a final attack on Diego, which had no effect at all. However, Diego delivered a powerful blow to Scout, sending him flying. Now, our hero had only one last potion bottle, which he was about to drink. Here, Yuna warned him that if he drank it, he might die. But our hero didn't care and drank it anyway. He rose to fight again, but as soon as he stepped forward, the heavy dose of the potion made him collapse to the ground, and blood began pouring from his mouth profusely. Seeing this, both of them were terrified. At the same time, Diego advanced to attack them, but Caval appeared just in time and immediately cut off one of Diego's hands, saying that Diego's game was over. He then showed Diego that the Elite Four had defeated Diego's entire army, leaving Diego as the final boss. Meanwhile, Uno cried, looking at Scout's body and said, "Please wake up, we need you. I'll do anything you say, just wake up once." The scene then cuts, and we see Scout in a different place. Scout thought he had died and was in heaven. However, from behind him, the legendary hero Cyan appeared and said that Scout wasn't dead, but had entered the secret sword. Hearing this, our hero was very shocked. The legendary hero Cyan knelt before him and thanked him for using his power well. Finally, Cyan had found a true successor to his power. Our hero was confused and said, "What are you talking about?" Scout said that he didn't have time to listen to this nonsense because the people there needed him. He asked Cyan to show him the way out, and Cyan pointed the way. Scout then walked down the path. Elsewhere, Caval was still fighting Diego. At the same time, our hero's eyes opened, and he flew with full power. We see that Scout's body was also flying, with the legendary hero Cyan inside him. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Then Scout and the legendary hero together attacked Diego. First, the legendary hero destroyed the crystal in Diego's head, and then the two began slicing Diego as if making an omelet, until Diego was gradually defeated. The story intensifies as our character, Caval, used his spikes to pin the enemy in place. Taking advantage of the situation, the two heroes finally defeated him. However, here comes a twist. Diego managed to transfer himself to a forest at the last moment. But Diego wasn't completely safe, as two small demons, whose leader had been eaten by Diego, appeared with deadly glares, leaving Diego powerless. Finally, our team won this war, and Yuna returned to her body. As promised to Scout, Yuna went to Scout's room to fulfill that promise, and she was fully prepared. However, she forgot one thing. That the soul inside Scout's body wasn't actually Scout's, but rather the soul of the legendary hero. When Yuna realized this, she hurriedly left to save her dignity. We then see Scout regain his original body, and both characters return to their respective bodies. Afterward, the legendary hero asked Scout if he wanted to join them in sealing the gates of hell. Scout agreed, and the next battle would be against a much larger monster.